And we're live. Wildlife Cake and Cocktails, episode 14. We're back herping again. This time we're out at Tambourine Mountain with Mr. Scott Eipper. I've got the lovely Lisa Owen here from UQ Wildlife Science. She's a master's graduate and running Scales Wildlife Services. Lisa, you had to run off last time we were out in the field a bit prematurely.
I did. It was getting slightly late and I had to get up very early the next morning. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, look, we're here a little bit earlier and hopefully we've got a bit of an easier mission.
Yeah.
So. And we have some lovely rumballs here, courtesy of Miss Ty Eipper, who we're very, very thankful for. She's providing the cake and cocktails for us on the road today.
Joined together.
Yeah.
In this instance as well.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You literally got alcohol and cake together.
And that's what you want when you're out herping. You don't want to work too hard. You don't want to carry too much stuff. You know, you want your cake and your cocktail all in one.
Exactly.
Ready to go. All right, and you're obviously hearing the voice of Mr. Scott Eipper. He's a wildlife education consultant and owner of Nature for You here in Brisbane. He's a reptile expert, wildlife demonstrator, author of numerous books and articles, and a keen wildlife photographer. You can check out Nature for You at wildlifedemonstrations.com or on Facebook at Wildlife Demonstrations. Scott, how are you, man? Where are we? What are we looking at?
We're looking at the bonnet of a car at the moment.
What around us? What's around us?
No, we're in a section of Mount Tambourine National Park, which happens to be the top of the McPherson Range where we are. So you get some of these things that are restricted to the McPherson Range that you don't get in Brisbane and down here. So things like Lecreatus fletcheri and a few other bits and pieces don't come any further north than here.
Wonderful, wonderful. For those of you guys listening at home, it's Tambourine Mountain. So basically, it's a lovely drive in as well. Actually, you see the plateau kind of rise up on your way through the kind of Scenic Rim area of southeast Queensland behind the Gold Coast. The mountain plateau itself is about 8 by 4 kilometres, but it's not too high. It's only 525 metres elevation at its highest point. Part of that Pearson Range is part of the Great Dividing Ranges, I believe, that stretch from Victoria all the way to here in Queensland. The Tambourine Plateau itself is volcanic in origin, formed from lava flows during the Mount Warning eruptions, which are further south, erupting some 22 million years ago, which is why there's some rich soils, diverse ecosystems, including some old-growth rainforests with giant strangler figs, palms and ancient cycad groves, freshwater creeks and pools among rocky basalt cliff bases and waterfalls, a variety of woodlands, and a lot more. A broad range of native fauna call it home, including some rare and threatened species such as koalas, quolls, potoroos, lyrebirds, several threatened bat species, tusked and pouched frogs, powerful owls, and obviously some very cool reptiles such as land mullets, which I love. Australia's biggest skink. Are they the world's biggest skink? No?
No. Solomon Islands skink are bigger.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, they're about 1/2 metre long, giant black lizard running around and living in little communities under log and little family groups some of the time. Fantastic animals. Chance of some Scenic Rim Gold Coast tiger snakes up here as well, apparently.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah, but we're looking for Leaf-Tailed Geckos, really. That's our main what we're after for tonight. Now, Tambourine Mountain actually gets its name not from the instrument, but from the indigenous place name Tambourine in the local Ugambe language, and it's only right that we acknowledge the Ugambe and Bundjalung people as the traditional owners of this land before we go traipsing around looking for wildlife. A few herping notes. First aid, always bring it along when you're out in the field. Good shoes, good communication. Let people know where you're going, and a bit of awareness. So around here there's stinging trees. Is that right, Scott?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
and
excellent. And get your tongue tonight.
Yeah, he threatened to push me one, and I said, you know what, I think I might just let you do it so it doesn't happen.
Sucks.
And look, venomous snakes, obviously spiders, things like that, and insect bites, do take care while you're out here. Now we're going to be night spotting. Basically spotlighting at night, looking for eye shine and for animals out at night. Now, once you find a good location like this, take your time at night, not just for success of finding things, but for safety. You don't want to slip and fall. It's a horrible way to end your night of herping. Now, I imagine we're looking a lot around these rainforest tree trunks and the buttress roots, which are the shallow, broad kind of ground-covering, folded roots systems of some of the big fig trees and stuff.
It's a little bit hit and miss with the leafies. They'll be down at different heights in the trees, depending on what sort of night it is.
Okay.
When it's moister, they tend to be down a little bit lower.
All right.
And also, too, as the night goes on, they tend to move down lower as well. So, at the moment, most will probably be sitting about, it's only 20 minutes, 30 minutes after dark. they'll probably be sitting at about 15 to 20 feet off the ground.
Right.
And then, sort of as we come along, sort of as we walk back out,
hopefully
you'll know they'll be
height.
fairly low.
Yeah, okay.
But then you get weird ones that are down low, and then you get others that stay high as well. So
yeah, there's always some weirdos out there in the bunch, isn't there?
that's it.
That's it. Wonderful. Now, obviously, guys, you know, some of these areas that we're going to, there's a lot of the time no bins. So, you know, bring some bags, take your rubbish with you. Don't leave scraps or feed animals, and generally try not to disturb the environment too much. Now, why are we looking for leaf tails? Well, personally for me, I've never actually seen them in the wild, so I'm obviously keen to see something new. But they're pretty cool looking. They're camouflaged tree trunk and rocky outcrop specialists. Lovely mottled coloration, often greyish brown with darker and lighter blotches and spots. Dorso-ventrally flattened bodies, perfect for hugging to those flat surfaces like mossy tree trunks, often with that broad, flat, leaf-like tail. And as you mentioned, Scott, they're you know, in these small, isolated distributions of like suitable habitat, rainforest and rocky habitat, and that's kind of why we're here, correct?
Yeah, I mean, they're probably, historically, the ranges probably would have been much larger, and with various aridification and as the water levels change, and the rainforests contract, the leaf tails contract with them. And so what that's happened has actually led to quite some significant speciation in Saltuarius and Saltuarius as well.
Yeah, very cool stuff. All right, guys, well, we better get on the road. We will get back with you once we're walking down the track. Cheers, guys. We'll see what we can find. Alrighty, bye. We have our first leaf-tailed gecko. That's a Saltuarius swaini. That's the Southern Leaf-Tailed Gecko right there.
We might have two. No, we've got two.
We've got two, do we?
Okay.
Oh my god. So Scott's just found another one. I'm going to let Lisa lead the way.
So, at the base of this tree, about 2 foot off the ground, I'll just walk. There's another one over there too, on that tree. So there's 3 now in 20 feet.
3 within 20 feet.
So see that one on the base of the tree there? Oh, Sean. Base of that tree.
Oh, yeah.
So you got that one, and then there's one on the base of this tree just here.
Yep.
Alright, we might... oh, I got... So where are we looking for this one over here?
That one's on the base of the tree. About 2 feet off the ground on that one. Right in the centre.
Oh yeah. Lovely.
And then this one's just here. Can you see that one?
I cannot for the life of me. Let's move in a bit closer.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, I got these cans on my head. Come on.
So this is like a 2-year-old here, amongst the calamus.
Oh wow, look at that. That is stunning.
So this stuff sucks.
Is that the stinging tree, or we got wait a while?
No, that's calamus.
Yeah.
Calamus, also known as wait a while vine. Some lovely spiky stuff. But
Should have brought a camera.
I did. I've got a camera right here. I've got my
Of course
camera.
you do, yeah.
So we are definitely going to take a photo of this little one because it's so close and easy.
Yeah,
But-
well, that's an original tail, and it's probably a female too, because you can't see the hemiphenal bulges.
Right. So we got a female with the original tail. That is just absolutely stunning.
And so if you look at that one over there,
Yeah.
and you can see that one so much better now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a decent sized one.
So that's probably 2 years old.
Yeah.
That one might be 3.
Well, we came looking for leaf tails, and it's the first thing that we've come across, other than the Mixophis fasciolatus, the barred frog already.
Yep,
so
yep.
I think we're in for a good night, guys. So we have the Southern Leaf-Tailed Gecko. We have 3 of them, very, very close to each other. And guys, these are you know, as we mentioned, a very dorsoventrally flattened animal, pretty much hugging the leaf and the tree, and it looks a lot like a piece of lichen.
I suppose the other thing you keep in mind as well is that you'll notice, see how that one's facing down, that one over there is facing down,
Yeah.
that one there's facing down. So what they're doing is they're sitting there effectively in an ambush position, a bit like, you know, you had a death adder on a little while ago where you had that snake that curls up, just there wriggles his tail. These guys go down to the base of these rocks or trees, sit usually about 12 inches off the ground, and then basically they're sitting there waiting for bugs. So cockroaches, spiders, anything like that comes along, and they're in the perfect position to come down and take those out.
So they hang facing down like this on
Always
these tree
facing
trunks.
down. So just a bit. It's a good way of working out if somebody's taken funny photos or not, if they've been disturbing the animals or not. Because, you know, they put this thing up and it's sitting and walking along like a normal gecko does. The reality of it is that it should be facing down. Like
facing down the tree, hugging up against the trunk, trying to be a bit of lichen and waiting for a roach or a bug or something to run past for him to snap up.
Yeah. I mean,
Wow.
You do see the oval on the ground and that, where especially gravid females when they're going to lay, but generally speaking, this is what you're looking for.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
Is that not the coolest thing ever?
It is.
Now, they've got some amazing like tubercles and like spines and things. It just really helps break up the outline, particularly along the that leafy tail. Very fascinating. Guys, we're going to keep looking and see if we can find some more. We're going to take a few photos here, obviously. These are just too gorgeous to miss. And we'll be back with you very shortly once we find some more cool animals. Mount Tambourine leaf-tails. First thing we find, there's 3 of them within about 5 meters of each other. This is amazing. All right, cheers. We'll talk soon, guys. Bye. All right, so we're here by this third leaf-tail that we found so far. The first one being really high up, we couldn't really see too much, but then we found that 2-year-old, and now we've got this gravid female right here. You know, for our viewers at home, how can you tell she's gravid?
See how much more puffier she is compared to the other one?
Right, and they're typically fairly flattened.
Fairly also laterally compressed, so this one's actually seen quite puffed up. And I mean, she's that close to dropping there, you can actually sort of see the edges of the eggs on the sides of the body there as well. So.
Right, there is actually a little bit of bulging that you can like physically see from the outside, which I guess for these animals is pretty atypical. Yeah,
it's a little bit different to normal, and it's the right time of year for them to be gravid, and generally speaking I would have thought they would have been said and done by now. But you know, obviously you think you know these things, and then something comes along and changes it out. So you know, it could be just a late individual, or maybe they've all gone late this year. So.
Well, I suppose that's one of the joys of herping. I mean, it's not just finding the animals, but observing their behaviour, and often you're going to find them doing bizarre things that have maybe not been recorded, feeding on certain things that have not been recorded yet, or even outside of ranges and stuff, which is how a lot of these things are discovered, is by people out herping and looking for them.
Well, I suppose the other thing too that's important is that if you go up to the animals and actually observe them, as opposed to trying to capture them and things like that, you actually get a chance to experience some of that ecology and the natural history of those animals. So what you can do when you go to capture that animal, or whatever the case may be, you can actually lose some of the experience. So.
Absolutely. And obviously, you know, while we're out here, we can be using citizen science apps like Frog ID, which we were using on the last show, but there's also Herp Mapper, which is a fantastic reptile mapping app.
Yeah, so Herp Mapper's for reptiles and amphibians, but it's worldwide. It's not restricted to Australia. There's an app for Australia, which is the Sightings app, which covers all of our theropods, so the birds, reptiles, amphibians and mammals. Herp Mapper is strictly for reptiles and amphibians, but it is worldwide. So both of them have got their pros and cons. But at the same time, I mean, any bits of data that we can grab is certainly a good thing going forward.
Yeah, awesome. All right, I guess we're going to keep moving and see what else we can find. But look at this beautiful gravid female, ready to go drop some eggs and have some more leaf-tailed babies. Lisa, we found 3 in 10 minutes?
Yeah, I did not expect that at all, so I'm very excited, and I'm looking forward to the tiger snake around the next corner.
I hope so. I hope so.
I'll get excited.
I say we found 3, but
yeah.
I think we might leave it.
It may not have been us.
Yeah. We might leave some of the credit for Mr. Eipper here. All right, guys, we're going to get back on the road. We'll see what happens. We'll switch the recorder back on shortly, and talk to you soon. Bye.
There's markings. Well, we'll see Lacreatus fletcheri too, which is a really cool frog too.
So Myxophes fasciolatus, the great barred frog.
Myxophes
fasciolatus. Wow, so look, these are a wonderful little frog. They're actually quite robust little things, brownish in colour, but they got this lovely, beautiful striped leg patterning and these big, kind of very predatory looking head. They're out here kind of in the open, the way cane toads sort of sit up in open spaces on the ground, chasing things around. Is that correct? Yeah,
so they basically occupy the niche that cane toads have now fulfilled. So they've dropped down in numbers a little bit, but most of the other myxos have been hit pretty hard by chytrid fungus, whereas these guys have seemed to handle it pretty well. So that one there's probably about 3 or 4 months old. interesting thing about mixophies in their taddies is that they have their tadpoles can actually be tadpoles for up to 18 months, 2 years.
And they're huge.
And they get big.
Yeah,
You know,
massive,
you
massive
could-
tadpoles.
You could probably eat them.
Well, yeah, I've seen some that are close to the size of sort of an Australian 10 cent, 20 cent piece kind of thing, somewhere there in the middle. Pretty monstrous tadpoles.
You know, you'll get tadpoles that are sort of up to 35 millimetres long and 25 millimetres across.
And look, these aren't a small frog. I mean, this guy you say is only, what, 4 or 5 months old, but
Yeah, that's not even...
maybe 4 centimetres long, 5 centimetres,
That'd be 50 mil long.
50 mil long.
Adult females can get to about 100 millimetres long. Adult males are about 95.
And a big, wide gape on him for gobbling things down, hey? Lovely little
They'd eat
frogs.
you with.
All right, let's get on the road and see what we can find. Man, it's a beautiful night, a lot of calls.
Crickets and katydids.
Plenty of crickets.
I get to the point where I'm fucking
You're just seeing them too often at one point.
Mammal.
Oh, what do we got? That looks like a ringtail possum climbing up around the trees.
Leaf tail up there.
Oh, up on the...
Keep going up where my light is. Little eye shine of a leaf tail.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big fucking tree that's going to come down.
Monster of a tree. Where did you shine the leaf tail?
2/3 of the way up.
Oh, yeah, I see it, yeah. Little bit of eye shine.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it really does take a while to get your eye in and start to see this eye shine, but obviously some of us have been doing it longer than others, Mr. Eipper.
Yeah, character building.
And wow, look at those big possums. No, they're ringtails, aren't they?
Yeah, for ringy.
Big ringtail possum up there. A big orange looking possum with that white tip of the tail. Cruising around. Wow, big fatty. Solid animal.
You reckon she might be a mum with a bub in the pouch, maybe.
I would suspect so. She's massively
Pretty
swollen,
big,
yeah.
Pretty big as well as the back end.
Yeah. Beautiful animal. And just all these lichen covered rainforest trees, it's just perfect place for these leaf tails to hang out, obviously.
Hopefully that ringtail can come into contact with a nice big carpet later on tonight.
Well, they're on the diet, that's for sure. All right, guys, we'll see what else we can find down the track.
There's another frog there.
Oh, we found another frog.
Mixer.
Another mixed off.
That's a juvenile.
Oh, yeah.
You see how much more banded the legs are?
Yeah, beautiful. Almost like a... It's very fine, but it's also very defined banding on the forelegs as well.
Yeah, so you can use that that banding as a way of determining some of the northern species and picking them apart. The banding's all different. So top of the eye is eye colour, and then also the banding on the legs.
Yeah, beautiful frogs, hey. I love the massive head on them. It's fantastic. They're obviously quite predatory, hey, Lisa?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Righto. I think we're going to take a few photos here, guys. We'll switch the recorder back on, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. Well, we've just seen either an antechinus or a melamine, some kind of small mammal or marsupial run up into this hollow tree here. So obviously plenty of them around in this rainforesty, leaf littery.
Yeah, it's got fur on it. I don't know what it is.
Well, it's good food for all the other predators running around as well.
Yeah. Look, I think it's probably an antechinus.
Yeah.
It moved a bit differently to the way the melamies do.
Yeah.
And
Melamies
also-
kind of hop a little bit.
Yeah, and they're sort of rounder as well. These
Yeah,
things quite
fairly
elongate. And
It did have that
drawn out.
fairly pointed snout from what I saw when it was
Yeah.
sticking it out.
The only other thing that you might get up here would be a type of planigale or something like that. which
Planigales,
potentially could be as well.
right. Is there phascogales down here as well?
Yeah, it's fastest, but that wasn't a fast.
Okay.
No mature ones.
Right. All right, cool stuff.
I don't know.
All right, I guess we'll keep walking and see what we can find. I don't think he's
Is that
going.
enough?
All right.
Okay, so now I'm going to go behind you guys. You guys got to find the next leaf tail.
That's good. All right, guys, we'll switch the recorder back on once we see what we can find. All right, cheers. Yeah. So we've got another lovely Saltuarius swaini here, and yeah, again a very different colour, much lighter, and you know, who knows how much how much awareness they have of their own coloration, but they do seem to be picking some trees and some kind of licheny patterns that they seem to match up with pretty well, I suppose.
Certainly do. I mean, there's no sort of rhyme or reason to it, but maybe it just happens to be that that it's a predator selection that's causing the animals to be predated on, the ones that sort of stand out more on the other trees. So if they happen to pick the right trees, they don't get eaten, I suppose.
Well, I suppose it's in some sense it's the same selective force that's driving them to be leaf-taily and camouflagey in the first place.
Well, I suppose so, but I suppose the interesting thing too, though, to keep in mind is I wonder why the regenerated tails haven't got those tubercles and don't quite have that same amount of intricateness that the original tails do. I wonder if it's just too much effort to put back into those tails and too much of an energy.
It's a developmental thing that can maybe only happen during the earlier developmental phases, and then when the regen tail comes, it's not quite as elaborate and flanged.
Yep.
Beautiful animals anyway.
That's it.
Alright, and I'm not sure if you guys can hear that at home. We're approaching the waterfalls here. And it's just a lovely walk with some really cool little mammals are running around. Well, we saw a red-necked wallaby scurry off already. Yep. So there's a lot of life around, a lot of spiders. A lot of spiders. How'd you go getting those photos?
Yeah, I think they went really well. I hope they came out really well.
We'll find out when we get home. All right, let's see what else we can find. And yeah, a lot of these big trees are completely hollow in the middle because they're these old strangler figs starting out as sort of epiphytes. Whoa, what has Lisa found?
Leaf-tailed.
Where are you looking?
Yep. You're talking right up to the tree on that side of it.
That side.
Yep. So yeah, he's sitting off the tree a little bit.
Oh yeah. Huh.
My lessons work.
Lisa's learning quicker than I am, Jesus. No surprise there.
Well, they do say women are more receptive, so.
Oh, we'll see if we can find one myself at some point. Get these giant cans off my head and actually move my head around a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds like an excuse.
Yes, it is an excuse, thank you. Alright guys.
Probably put the cans on, I'll still be able to find them.
Alright guys, we'll switch the recorder back on in a minute. We'll see what we pull up for you. Talk soon, bye.
So you successfully found the one on a rock.
Yeah, so
the
we were talking.
Not using any of its camouflage is the one that you happen to find.
Well, yeah, I it was basically about less than a foot away from me, and on the track, so it was hard to miss. But I have found my first leaf-tailed gecko. Did you? Hang on, wait. Did you walk past this, Scott?
I saw it.
Oh, you were trying.
I'm trying to be nice. Actually, I was hoping. You weren't going to see it.
That'd have been, oh, the shame that would have ensued. Well, look,
I've walked past lots of things, and I've turned around and go, "So, did you see that?" So,
oh man, he's absolutely beautiful, and decent size as well, and right here on the ground, not far from us, not running away. That's one of the cool thing about a lot of these, I guess, cryptic and camouflage animals. You can actually approach them and get quite close without them sprinting off on you.
yeah, he's hiding to the best of its abilities at the moment, but he's sort of been let down on what he's chosen to hide on.
Oh, poor little dude. Well, you didn't get away from me this time, little fella. So cute, absolutely stunning little animals.
His eyes are magnificent as well.
Aren't they just? There's fantastic patterns in there. Man, we're going to have to get some photos for you guys because these are just one of the most amazing geckos. Wow. And yeah, you're right, those feet are very, very different. very thin and very clawed, not the big padded toes that you expect from geckos.
Yeah, it's a feature in all the Carpodactylus, the whole Carpodactylide clade or grouping. So the chameleon geckos, the Araya, Saltuarius and Phalaris have all got these clawed feet as opposed to flared pads that you see in both Geckonidae and Diplodactylidae.
So I understand that Carpodactylidae actually means like withered fingers.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Right. So, you know, on a lot of geckos, we're used to big, wide, broad toe pads with wide subdigital lamellae, which are the scales underneath the fingertips. On these Carpodactylidae geckos, you've got the Carpodactylid geckos. You've got these long, elongated fingers with actually quite a decent claw on the end. Yeah, not the sticking to walls and windows type of gecko that you expect, but absolutely perfect for hanging onto these rocky crevices and trees and everything that they have in their environment. So, very, very cool. Ha! Found one.
Excellent.
Bit of an easy one.
Now you got to find one with an original tail.
Now we've got to find one that's actually hard to find. All right. Let's keep moving and we'll see what else we can find. So we found the infamous stinging tree finally. Nobody's been stung yet, but yeah, so if you ever are here in the southeast Queensland area and you find these big heart-shaped leaves on these trees,
don't use them for toilet paper.
Oh, that's probably the best advice I've heard.
That would suck. Wax strips are a really good, really handy thing, or even a roll of duct tape is a handy thing to have sitting in your backpack.
Yeah.
So I've got a roll of duct tape in my bag just in case. The thing to know about stinging trees too is that you don't, when you do get stung, all right, use the tape, get it off, and you can keep using the same piece of tape just to keep getting rid of those
tiny little poisonous hairs on the leaves. Yeah.
But one thing to remember is it's not just the live leaves that can make your day suck, but also the dead ones at the bottom.
Yeah, so don't sit on the leaf litter underneath the stinging tree because that'll get you as well.
Yeah, or use your hands to dig up a frog that's sitting calling underneath one. Well, I may be aware of this firsthand.
Yeah, from experience. Well, I mean, look, it is lovely being out here in the rainforest, but you do have to remember, you know, there's stinging trees, there's basically anything that a bush rat has been running around on. There's a chance of, you know, picking up leptospirosis if you're you know, basically shoveling dirt into your mouth and and you don't really want to be drinking too much of the water in some of these creek lines here as well, from what I hear.
Nah, that can be sort of bad as well. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like everything. I mean, you get out in the bush and you experience it for what it is. Just try not to hurt yourself too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I actually recommend getting stung by a stinging tree once in your life.
Once in your life.
Once in your life.
So, all right.
Go on.
I'm going the finger. Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh fuck.
You're mad.
You're gonna really know about that soon.
No, that's not too bad.
No, it'll keep going.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
not like a normal nettle that just sits and.
Yeah, that's got a bit of pinch to it.
Yeah.
Look, I only barely stroked the underside of the leaf with the tip of my finger.
For science.
For science. Scott's cracking up because he.
Fuck me, dude. You don't know what you're in for.
It's certainly starting to heat up somewhat. But, you know, it's not that bad. I've definitely experienced worse stings in my life.
Yeah, but unlike a nettle that stops in 5 minutes, that'll still be going for a couple of hours.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I was actually going to get to that. I just hadn't got to that.
Well, good thing you let me touch it first.
Well, you touched it.
Excellent.
Anyway.
So look, you know, do be careful. Don't fall into a bunch of stinging trees, that's for sure, because I only just scraped it very gently with the underside of my finger, and I'm feeling that. All right, guys, we'll let you know when we find something else interesting, more stinging trees. Maybe somebody will push me into a bunch of poisonous bushes or something. We'll talk to you soon. Bye. Lovely waterfall right here.
Yeah, if we turn the lights off, this is all a big gallery of, what do you call it? Can't even think of their names.
Yeah,
Glowworms.
I see them, yeah.
Glowworms. Oh wow.
Turn your light
Okay.
off.
Yeah. Wow. Oh,
You
that's
wait a little while and it's like it's almost got stars underneath here again.
wow. That's incredible.
I thought that's what that was, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So this beautiful what is this basalt rock face that we've got this little waterfall on is just covered in beautiful little gem-like glowing glowworms. This is
Pretty cool.
yeah, this is fascinating. I had no idea these were here.
Oh, so I don't tell people about it until they get to the bottom, and then it's time to turn their lights off and they see it. It's good.
Wow, it is absolutely beautiful. And what a spot as well, right here by the waterfall. This is very cool.
How can you be glum when the sun shines out your bum?
Really Mixo's calling as well.
Yeah.
Womp, 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 womp. Carpet.
Carpet python? Oh, look at that. We have carpet python. Let's go have a bit of a look. Wow, he's a fatty. He's just had himself a big old feed as well.
Aren't you meant to be a hurt yarn or what?
Oh man, look at that. Beautiful carpet python.
Be a carpet instead of inside a house.
Yeah, look, I mean, they've done so well in urban areas that really these days you see them more in suburbia than you do out in the forest like this.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, it's just nice compared to like all of the times you see them crossing roads and all the rest of it. To have one actually just sitting there in situ with a decent sized feed in his gut by the look of it.
Yeah, he's definitely looks like he's taken a massive feed actually. He's swollen up. Wow, very cool. All right, we're right here next to a lovely carpet python, and he's definitely looks like he's recently eaten a decent sized possum or something. He's got a good feed in there. Look at that. Wow.
Cool. I might get a quick photo of that.
Yeah, fantastic.
Are you still recording?
Yeah, all right. We'll see what else we can find, and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers, guys. So we're rock hopping over. I've got my camera around my neck. We're walking over the creek line, heading over. And what have you found, Scotty?
Cascade tree frog.
Cascade tree frog. Wonderful.
Latoria
Oh my
pisoniana.
God, yeah, look at him. That is beautiful.
Put a horn on a jellyfish, that fella.
Man, he is gorgeous. And these were recently delisted, is that
Yeah,
correct?
so they've just come off the endangered listing for southeast Queensland.
Yeah.
So,
And massively hit by chytrid fungus and making a bit of a comeback, possibly?
well, I mean, you'd need that baseline data to just show that they are coming back, but at this point in time, anecdotally, they certainly seem to be in better numbers than they used to be at locations like this, which is full of chytrid. So,
Yeah, right. So there is chytrid in these waters.
Yep.
And we still have successful frog activity here, which is
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic.
I mean,
Oh, we better get a photo before he jumps away.
yeah, I'd say you're probably going to shoot off in a second, but yeah. So anyway, Pearsoniana.
Wonderful. Beautiful frog. Smallish, greenish. Looks, hard to distinguish from Latoria phalanx, honestly.
Well, they're much more rounded.
Okay.
So phalanx are quite pointed, whereas these are quite rounded. Let me hold that for you.
Yeah. Wow, he is just beautiful.
So these are related within Latoria to things like the Spencer's tree frog, Latoria barringtonensis, Latoria phylacroa, Latoria nudidigita. The biggest one of that same group is Latoria citropa, the Blue Mountains tree frog. So all of these things have got these sort of two-tonal calls and live along streams in various places, but most of them are hit fairly hard by chytrid. So
Beautiful frogs, man. Absolutely.
gorgeous little things.
Yeah. Wonderful. Oh, wow. So what's the common name there again?
Cascade tree frog.
Cascade tree frog.
You can hear the riffles in the background, sort of.
Yeah, so we're right in the middle of the creek between some rocks, and there's a little bit of leaf litter here, basically a bit of flotsam that's caught up on the rocks, and right there hanging out amongst it. So this is pretty typical for them, eh?
Yeah, so what I was looking for, you would have seen me running up and down the creek before.
Yeah.
I was looking for these palm fronds that cross the creek.
Okay.
What you'll see on a lot of these rocks, they've got water spiders sitting on the rocks.
Yeah.
And I'd say these would make a pretty nice meal for a water spider. So.
And, you know, a nice, easy lookout for them on these palm fronds that have washed up and are kind of a little bit elevated.
Yeah, it sort of makes it a little bit easier for you to spot. It sort of narrows down your search area.
Yeah.
So.
Wonderful. All right, we'll keep moving. Wow, that's an awesome little frog. Oh, very cool.
Did you see it? Did you want to see it?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I was right next to Yanni. That's beautiful.
Now we just got to find some snakes that like to eat them.
Yeah.
Whoa, right there, right there.
Yep.
We have a golden crown snake. And he's gone straight into the leaf litter. Right here in front of us. So, I reckon he's gone in straight.
Now, if I hadn't seen that snake, I would have said you're bullshit.
Why is that?
Because you haven't seen anything or not, and now you've seen it.
Yeah, there's a golden crown snake, and he's shot in just in underneath here. Shall we try to see if we can find him?
Yeah.
Alright.
It's like,
He's shot in.
yeah, I'm sorry, mate.
Yeah, okay.
The only thing that sucks about this sort of stuff is there a stinging tree in here?
Are we picking up stinging tree leaves?
Well, since Yanni's already
It's
touched
like
on
fucking raw,
tonight.
isn't it?
Yeah. We're just going to see if we can find this little crown snake under these, this little bit of palm frond. Make sure we're not grabbing at too many stinging leaves.
Yes. So little snakes can curl up
Oh,
in little
got him.
spots.
Yes, they can.
Got him. Oh, there he goes. Right by Lisa's foot. Excellent. So, we have a golden crown snake, Cacophis squamulosus. Wonderful little stomach pattern on them, that beautiful red colour, and some nice black stripes down the middle. That belly coloration is actually quite variable, isn't it?
Yeah, depending on where you get them. Sometimes you see them in different places.
Wow, look at that beautiful little head on him. And these are a fantastic little
male.
leopard. Small little male. Wonderful. See if we can get a few photos here. Fantastic snakes.
Now pose.
Oh, he might just stop. Or he might just keep going. Hear that bip? Beep, beep, beep. That's the PSA now.
Well, this will be one of the snakes here that we're talking about that are here eating them as well. Alright. Alright, guys, we're going to turn off the recorder here and, well, we've got a lovely little leopard snake and we'll get a few photos, see what else we can find. Woohoo! So, well, we've got the cascade tree frog here. And that is the lovely male there on the top. Is that correct?
That's the male.
That's the male there on the bottom.
And this is a female. And
Female.
she's full of eggs too. You can see the eggs through the side of her there.
Yeah, right.
And so this one here, that's a male over there.
Wow, another one over there.
So the females are
And then
females?
another one. Oh, there's two in this tree as well.
Well, I can see.
Actually, wait, what is that?
There's one at the top.
What's this guy right here?
I'm not sure if it's a male or a girl. That one's definitely a girl. You see the eggs through the side of her.
And this little guy right here?
I'm not sure. Oh, that'd be a male. That's
Yeah.
a male.
There's one up here as well.
Yeah, that's one on the top. Wow, so, you know, we weren't finding these frogs very much. We come down a little bit further,
You just had a bug there, didn't you?
and then there's one feeding here in front of it.
Near there.
Yeah. Wow. So these tiny little palm trees, apparently, by the side of the creek, not just the ones washing in, but the little ones growing here on the side, are just loaded.
And like we've got 1, 2, 3. So you got 3 on this one tree. Now they're not going to sit on this during the day, as they get picked off by predators. So they've actually climbed up to this particular point for whatever reason.
Well, they seem to be able to fairly easily catch bugs, as we just saw. at this height, you know, maybe a little bit elevated above the creek line, where a lot of insects do like to move in that sort of open, you know, column of air above waterways. So maybe they're up here catching a little bit of insects. But there's also, like you said, there was a male and a female, with the male calling to the female, like 10 centimeters away from each other.
What have we got? We've got 1, 2, 3 palms, and there's at least 1 frog on that one. There's 2 frogs on this one, and there's 3 frogs on this one. 1, 2, 3. So, well, I hesitate to guess, if we go and have a look at that other palm a bit more closely, we'll probably see more on it as well.
Yeah, let's have a look.
I could also be made a liar of completely, so.
Well, there's one.
This is the one we could see before.
Yeah. No, just the one there by the look of it, but still, it just goes to show, you know, we weren't finding, we wanted to find these cascade tree frogs as well while we were here, and we were looking a little bit further up towards the waterfall, not finding any. Come down maybe another 20 meters, and bonanza. Beautiful little animals. We're going to take a few photos here, and yeah, these are a fantastic little tree frog. What's the Latoria?
Pearsoniana.
Latoria pearsoniana. Wonderful. Beautiful little frogs. All right, guys. We'll take some photos for you, and we'll get back to you soon. We'll see what else we can find out here. Cheers. All right. Wow. So, guys, we found plenty of leaf tails tonight. A couple of other cool things. Just briefly, I want to kind of, I guess, discuss some of the systematics and speciation with these guys. It's pretty interesting. As we were mentioning, you know, they probably were a lot more widespread until a lot of their habitat contracted. So, but also, you know, I remember when I kind of looked at these when I was a kid. I've got an old field guide, and there was 3 or 4 species in there, all underneath Phylurus. I mean, this is an old field guide. This is from like '87, I think.
Yep.
And that was the way it was back then. There was 3 or 4 species, all within the Phylurus genus, of which there's currently 9 species in the Wilson and Swan Field Guide 2017, the 5th edition, I think. So they're all pretty broad-tailed geckos with some very leafy lookings, like Phylurus platurus, the southern leaf-tailed gecko in the Phylurus genus. But the tails are a bit more cylindrical. Sometimes very flattened looking with a simple flared end, and the tip is slender and cylindrical. A bit more robust and rounded looking. Now, the Saltuarius is actually a genus that was erected in 1993 by Cooper et al. And you know, the fantastic work done by Cooper, Moritz, Conrad Hoskins, Glenn Shea, and the late great Janet Kovacevic from Queensland Museum all did fantastic stuff on these leaf tails. Now, in that Cooper paper, they are, you know, it's based on, you know, some surveys from the Mid-East rainforests of Queensland and 2 potentially new species, which prompted a review of the Queensland Museum collections. So they looked through their 61 specimens, examined morphometric and karyotype variation. So it's basically variation in chromosome shape and number and structure. They used all that to come up with a phylogeny, and it's obviously 2 lineages. So the Saltuarius contains some of the older Phylurus and plenty of cool new species, currently 7 in the Wilson and Swan Guide. They're a little bit larger than the Phylurus in general, with that very broad, flattened tail, elaborate outer flange tip, and a bit more elongate. Do we get a lot of Phylurus in the area as well? Or?
There's no Phylurus here. The nearest Phylurus to here is Phylurus carbi, which is at Oakview National Park.
Okay.
They're found in an area a bit smaller than a football field. It's probably one of the most endangered reptiles in the world.
Wow. Oh, that's right. Yeah, they're found in just basically one vine thicket. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, Dan Ferguson's been doing a hell of a lot of work on it from Parks and Wildlife, and he's been doing some work in regards to those, and I think he's up to quite a few species now, quite a few specimens that he's seen.
Right.
Other than that, there's a few others that have seen them as well. Myself and a couple of other guys have found them in a slightly different location to the type locality, both in Oakview National Park.
Right.
They're a beautiful little gecko, but yeah, they're incredibly endangered and basically no funding to go and do much work on them.
Yeah, right. And look, obviously, I mean, with the limited finding that is going on, like the work does continue. I mean, there's it was Saltuarius eximius that was I guess the latest that was named in 2013 in the Hoskins and Cooper paper. A spectacular new leaf-tailed gecko from the Melville Range, northeast Australia, in the journal Zootaxa, with that really kind of long-legged, skinny neck and body. So I guess they're a cryptic species that's isolated to these kind of little fragments.
Yep.
I guess do we expect to be maybe finding some more in the future?
There's probably a few places that haven't been looked at yet, that we haven't been up onto the top of that particular mountain and checked the right creek.
Yeah.
These things can be incredibly localised. So,
yeah.
Is there more out there? Who knows?
Yeah.
As we started off with 2 species, and then that 2 species became, has now turned into 9. So,
yeah.
And there's probably more to come, as people go through and look at other bits and pieces. I mean, the genetic distance between different populations of some of the Phalaris taxa is quite incredible.
Yeah.
Phalaris isis has got some quite significant divergence, and yet you can see the 2 hills that they live on from each other.
Right.
Phalaris championae is in the same boat. Phalaris ossa, which is found over slightly more wider range, has now been split into 3 different subspecies.
Oh, really?
And so, these things, as people do further revisions, are finding more and more species are sitting there hiding in plain sight.
Well, yeah, I mean, even Saltuarius swaini that we're seeing here, it's basically, as I understand it, there's now basically 4 species being split out of it since it was originally named. So,
when swaini was named by Wells and Wellington, it got split into Y. berber, and then a little bit later on it was then split from Salabrosis was split out of that, and then after that then you had Cooper, Shea and Worthington Wilmer split out KDA and Maritzi.
And the Cooper 2008
as well.
Paper.
That 2008 paper.
So that's I've got some details here from that paper actually. That's Cooper et al. 2008 reassessment of Saltuarius swaini, which is what we've been looking at tonight.
Yep.
In southeast Queensland and New South Wales, 2 new taxa, phylogeny, biogeography, and conservation in the records of the Australian Museum. So they basically had 167 specimens of Saltuarius swaini lineage from the Australian Museum and Queensland Museum collections across the known biogeographic range from southeast Queensland and New South Wales. They looked at the morphometrics, the body shape and different measurements of different features of the body, and they kind of wherever they had samples. They also took a tissue sample as well from 35 representative for the locations. From which they sequenced cytochrome oxidase B. It's a mitochondrial gene. So this morphological data was then included with the genetic identity if the morphological samples were from within 30 kilometres of a known genotype, because basically they're implying that there's no symmetry between the different samples. And
yep.
So look, they did find four lineages genetically, and as you were saying, the genetic distance here is quite interesting, even in the swaini. So there's 10 to 14% genetic distance between Maritzi, KDI, swaini, and Y. berber, and 3 to 4% within. So quite clearly a lot of genetic variation between those 4 separate taxa. As well as consistent difference in colour, pattern and scale between those lineages. So take all those and do a multivariate discriminant function analysis. They show some fairly highly defined groups. So fairly interesting. I guess we hope to see a lot more of this. I guess we will see more of this as more work is done.
Well, I think the other thing to keep in mind too is one of the reasons these things speciate so much is that they, as you see, they don't get out and move around the forest much. They get out and they sit on their tree or they sit on their rock, and that's basically most of their existence. So
yeah, right. So they're not the most mobile,
around. They're not dispersing and they're not moving around.
And not a lot of gene flow then, and a greater chance of speciation.
Correct.
So onto speciation there as well. It's quite interesting. In that Cooper et al. Paper in the reassessment of swaini, they also looked at some of the molecular dating in some of the variation in cytochrome B. Look, they did only use one fragment So that's not a, it's not, multiple nuclear markers and yada, yada, yada. So you do have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But I mean, some of those molecular clockworks, are really fantastic and well done.
At the same time, though, too, when they did that back in 2008, nuclear DNA wasn't being used anywhere near to the regularity it's being used now. So.
And they didn't have the markers ready and developed to do those kind of studies.
Yeah, the amount of change that you're seeing in 12, even 6-month increments compared to what you were able to do 6 months ago to what you're able to do in 6 months' time going forward is quite substantial as well. So, it should be remembered that this was done back in 2000. It was published in 2008, so it was probably done in 2006, 2007. Right. So.
Primers, by the way, for the audience who are listening, little flanking bits of sequence that you that help you sequence a gene that is that you're interested in, and they actually take quite a while to develop. PCR primers for these kind of studies. Anyway, it's they've fairly interesting what they found with the cytochrome B, even with that one fragment. You can kind of date, as these mutations tick over, if you know what rate they're occurring at, you can kind of date things fairly well. And it appears that the swaini lineage split in between the late Eocene and the late Oligocene, somewhere at the Eocene-Oligocene boundary about 33.7 million years ago. The rainforest-dependent swaini split from the 3 open forest and rock-dwelling forms, that's Mauritii, Woboba, and Kate, around 34 to 31 million years ago. So those Saxicolous rock-dwelling forms are a bit more recent, themselves diverging around 25 million years ago, coinciding with the latest Eocene, early Miocene cooling phase with the diminished rainforest. So you obviously, as we mentioned, you've got that large expansive rainforest, and then things dry out, you're left with remnant fragments, and genes can't continually flow from one to another. Reproductive isolation kicks in, and you have new species adapting to these local environments.
Yeah, well, it was interesting. I mean, there was recently a population of Saltuarius swaini found up on Mount Glorious, and I believe the genetics has been done, and I believe that there's a paper that's going to be coming out about it. But from what I heard, they're not actually a new species. Now, that might be incorrect. Who knows at this time until we see the paper that comes out. But hopefully they have sequenced it, and there will be a paper that comes out of it, and maybe some of these things that have been done with cytochrome B might get revised with nuclear markers in this new paper.
Right, because look, some of those markers mutate a lot faster than others, so it depends on the rate of mutation, that kind of how much divergence you're going to be seeing between your samples. So, if you decide, arbitrarily that 5% is enough, then certain markers are going to tell you that it is a species, and certain ones there's a melamese running around over there.
Yeah.
Little, small, hopping rodent, marsupial animal. Now, interesting. I found this very interesting. With the Phylurus, they're a little bit older. The Phylurus genus kind of diverging around 38 to 31 million years ago here in the mid-east in Queensland. Anyway, however, the phylogeography, that's the geography mixed with phylogenetics, suggests that quaternary climate change, sort of in the last 1.8 million years, shaped the current signatures for leaf-tailed geckos in northeast and mid-east Queensland. You can see that in Schneider et al. 1998 and Stewart Fox et al. 2001. So that might almost suggest a bit of susceptibility to future climate change as well. I mean, obviously, they have been isolated in the past. That's how a lot of these species form, when things really contracted and dried out. But it appears that
at their limits, though.
Sorry?
If they're already at their limits, then you might see some extinctions, unfortunately.
Yeah, true. Well, I mean, if they've already been fragmented into these tiny little pockets, and they can't really disperse from one to another, and things start heating up, they may not be able to disperse along with it.
Yep, definitely.
So yeah, something to think about there as far as climate change for the leaf-tails. Guys, we better get back on the road instead of sitting here and getting eaten by mosquitoes pretty badly. We'll see what else we find along the road, and we'll switch the recorder back on in a minute. Cheers, guys. Bye. All right, guys, we're back here at the car park after an epic walk. I know it was not too far, but geez, those leaf-tails were everywhere, and they're quite easy to find once you get your eye in. And thanks for showing us how to do that. That was
That's all right.
once you pick up that technique of really getting the eye shine back, having the torch placed in the correct spot on my head, I'm used to, I'm much more used to using a handheld torch. These head torches of yours are they make things a little bit easier. Yeah, dude, thank you so much, Scott Eipper. It's been an absolute pleasure. Lisa, how'd you go? Did you have fun out here?
That was fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much, Scott. That was wonderful. I learned a lot tonight. So.
And I'm sure we'll be doing it again sometime soon. Look, plenty more wildlife cake and cocktails on the way. We're going to be doing plenty more herping over summer with all the critters out and about. Now, obviously, people can check out Nature for You and Scott Eipper and all of his menagerie at wildlifedemonstrations.com or at Wildlife Demonstrations on Facebook. Where else can people find your lovely creatures and your handsome face?
I mean, it's my handsome face. Is a little stretch. No, me and my wife run the business together. She works in it just as hard as I do, if not harder. So,
well, she made those lovely rumballs, so thank you again to Ty.
yeah. But I mean, she looks after the collection day to day, and puts a lot of animals together for breeding, and all the lizards and stuff like that's all her domain. I just get told to pull that poo out here and do this there and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, pretty much. So, So I mean, at the end of the day, she sort of does most of those things. But basically, with all the stuff that we do, hit us up on Facebook's probably the easiest, or shoot us an email, or jump on the website. And buy some shirts and buy some other stuff. You do some pretty cool apparel. Oh,
those Nature for You shirts, I've got mine. I'm still rocking it. It's fantastic. I've got my sand goanna, and I'm very, very happy with it. So check it out. Guys, don't forget to check out RepX Brisbane Reptile Expo 2018. It's going down on Sunday, March 25th. You can check out RepX on Facebook or go to repx.com.au for all the details. There's going to be model lizard pits. There's going to be venomous snake demonstration areas. There's going to be birds of prey. There's going to be invertebrates. There's going to be all kinds of awesome creatures for you to discover throughout the day. Some amazingly talented reptile breeders, demonstrators, special guest reptile ambassadors, and you may just catch the Wildlife Cake and Cocktails crew at the podcast booth interviewing some of the people there, or just wandering around and checking out all the reptile-y goodness. So, don't forget to check out RepX, repx.com.au or RepX Australia on Facebook. Save the date, March 25th, Sunday. That's over 1,700 square meters of amazing displays from birds of prey to venomous snakes, all for you there to enjoy. Cheers, guys. We're going to get on the road. It's late. There's mosquitoes everywhere. I'm cold. And I think, Scott, you got some more writing to do, and Lisa's got work early in the morning.
I've got lots of fucking reading.
I'm the only person who gets to sleep in. All right, I'm going to go get to bed and have myself a nice little sleep while these guys struggle. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Much more Wildlife Cake and Cocktails coming at you very soon. Cheers, everybody. Be well. Talk soon. Bye.